Welcome to the podcast. The show is called Most People Don't, But You Do. And I am thrilled to be able to recognize and welcome Kevin Perkin, chair of the board and CEO of Sysco. I've been chasing Kevin down for several months as soon as I heard him on a Penn State podcast with a very dear friend of ours, Coach Mark Pavlik. And Kevin, I was just blown away by your insight. Our podcast is doing very well. It's globally top 2 to 5% in the world. We're getting some good messages out there. We are focusing on people that do what most people don't do. The name of the show, the name of the company, the name of the book. And you are one of those people, Kevin. So thanks for spending some time with us.
Cheers, Bart. Thanks for having me. And I'm sorry it took us so long to get together, but I'm glad to be here with you today.
It's worth it. No worries. What is your favorite number, Kevin?
Number 11.
Okay. What happened in 1994 that you contributed to changing history?
We were the first men's volleyball team from outside of the state of California to win a Division I national championship. So yeah, that was a heck of a lot of fun and something I'll never forget. I can't believe it was 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. We're getting old.
Yeah, we are. At least I am. Okay. And the reason why I wanted to ask you, my favorite number is 8 because of Penn State volleyball. The show is designed to get to know you as a human being, you as a leader, and then naturally it'll flow into what you're doing with Sysco. But I just wanted to start off with something different. Going back to 1994, congratulations on doing that. One of my favorite memories, 1987, third place. Kevin, do not ask me if I saw any playing time because I didn't, but I warmed up really well. I did some really great warm-up hits. But along those lines, it's something that will have really stayed with me forever. For our listeners that aren't going to have access to you typically, what was going through your mind? 1994, was that a freshman or were you a sophomore at that point?
It was my second year of playing. I was a redshirt junior, but second year of eligibility.
Okay. Do you remember what it was like winning that championship? What did it feel like?
Yeah, it's go back 30 plus years. I remember it vividly. His Penn State men's volleyball has had a great program for a very long time, but there was this level that we hadn't broken through to. And my freshman year, we finished third, so similar to the trophy you just put forward. Sophomore year, we finished first. Junior year, we finished second. And senior year, we finished third. We had a lot of success. And I think, what was I thinking? Can we break through to that next level? We would win the conference we were in, which is the East Coast, every year without too much.
EIVA.
We would beat the Midwest teams pretty soundly. We never lost to Ohio State, I'd like to say. We were 8-0 against Ohio State. Undefeated that year when we came up against them. And Volleyball Magazine existed back then. I don't think it does anymore, but they actually predicted it was going to be one of the shortest NCAA matches in history, as in we'd get our butts kicked. Yeah. And it ended up being, and I think it's been eclipsed since then, but at the time that it occurred, it was the longest NCAA match in NCAA history. We went 5 games and we prevailed, and nobody thought that we would. And last comment about it, I'm sure you have many follow-ups, is you play best of 5. We were down 11-4 in the 4th game. So that's staring at the barrel of defeat at that point in time. Down 11-4 in an era when you could only score a point if you were serving. And we came back and won that game 4 because at UCLA won that game. They won the whole thing. And then game 5 is always a crapshoot. And what I'm most proud of was we were a team. When the stress was at its highest, when our backs were against the wall, our team came together. And UCLA had 4 first-team All-Americans on their squad, and they were literally yelling at each other on the court. I'm not going to say the person's name because he ended up being an Olympian, but he took his jersey off and threw it in the stands after a point. They started to unravel is the point. When the fractures started because of stress, they broke apart. We came together, and at that point, we knew we had them.
Yeah, so playing together as a team. And even though it was 30 years ago, I'm sure, you were just rattling off of the numbers. We were down to 11-4. So I'm sure it is still prominent in your life. Okay, so thinking back to that time period, the first time you won the national championship, and then, of course, I had to do the research. honorable mention for All-American 1995, 1996, second team All-American. Well done. Do you consider yourself a leader? Going back to that time when you're playing volleyball, national championships, pulling people together, were you a leader then?
I was the captain of the team my junior and senior year, so I think, and it's team voted, so that your teammates vote, the coach Pav, who ultimately approves. But so I'd say yes is the answer. I was never the best player on the team. My senior year, I was an All-American, but I was the year we won the national championship. I was more a defensive specialist. I think I may have had 11 or 12 blocks in the championship match, which is a lot. But I wasn't the offensive juggernaut. That was Ramon Hernandez who carried the team. So I was never the superstar, but worked harder than most people don't. Most people don't go to the weight room at 7 a.m. every day in college. I did. And most people don't put in the extra effort I did because I wasn't the most athletic person on the court. And I started playing volleyball in junior year of high school. So I started super late, but I worked really hard, cared about other people, had the back of my teammates, helped understand what made them tick to motivate them. Some people, it was patting them on the back. It's going to be okay. Some not to be named teammates needed to be kicked in the pants to be motivated or even yelled at. And a story I'll tell just about that season, I actually told this at work yesterday. Someone asked me, like, when have you faced adversity? How did you overcome it? And then what success did you have because of it? And so here's the story. It's about a month before we won the national title. We went to Ball State, and Ball State is a really good team. They're a great program, but we need to beat Ball State. We're a better team. We were ranked number 2 in the country at the time. We drive to Muncie, Indiana. We lose to Ball State a month before the NCAA title. As a leader, I physically stepped between the two of them, calmed the situation down, brought the team together to talk about, listen, one of two things is going to come out of tonight. We're either going to use this as a galvanizing moment to not accept what occurred and do something better about it, or this is going to be the night that our season unravels and we have a disappointment. And that next week of practice, Pat would tell you this, that was the best week of practice we had all year. We chose the path of come together. So that was our absolute worst moment. Yeah. And then from there on up, it was like we were playing better as a team. We were working more collaboratively as a team. And then UCLA had their worst moment when it mattered most in the national championship game.
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to ask you about leadership, even at a younger age, is because I found a quote from your mother. And she said, Diane said, Kevin is someone who is more inclined to take a backward stand, but still has a lot of leadership. He is very responsible and dependable. And I don't know exactly what year that was, but what I'm learning so far and what our listeners are learning so far, Kevin, is that you had the drive and you had the ability to be empathetic and perceptive enough to know what your other team members needed. You were leading by example by doing your best, even though you weren't the most athletic or the best person on the team, which I think is, amazing. And no wonder you've had the career that you've had. And I'm looking back to my days. Rich Cicero was one of our captains or our co-captains. And Rich was not the best player. I was the number 12 out of 13 for the first year. So I didn't get a whole lot of playing time, but it taught me very valuable lessons. But Rich cared deeply about each and every single person. And he would watch every single person. It sounds very similar to your leadership approach, that you knew when you needed to get involved and you knew what people needed to get moving forward. Were you always like that, Kevin, as a leader? I know we're starting off NCAA volleyball, college, Penn State days, but were you a leader before that even?
Sorry for my cough. I was sick a few weeks ago. I feel perfectly fine, but I get a silly cough I can't get rid of. I think what my mom meant, I didn't authorize her interview for the record. I didn't even know they were going to talk to her. I was like, Mom, what the heck are you talking about? I think what my mom meant is I don't seek out the limelight. There are people who need the spotlight on them. They need the attention on them. Their ego, their life circle is about getting that self-gratification through others talking about them in a positive way. And I've never sought that ever. I didn't need to be in the article. I didn't need to have my picture in the Daily Collegian. I didn't need to have my coach praising me for me to have self-worth. My gratification came from putting in the work, collaborating as a team, having good outcomes. That's what I needed to be gratified. I didn't need the attention. And from having teammates, I had teammates that big time needed the attention. And at work, it's the same way. I've had thousands of coworkers who are focused on themselves more than the team. And I've been the opposite my whole career, focused on the team more than myself. Let's let our hard work equal the outcome. What's going to make me proud is the outcome, not getting attention for it or praise for it. I think at an early age, and specifically on that team, as I said before, I could identify what others needed on our team for them to be the best version of themselves. As I mentioned, some people they hit a ball out of bounds. They actually need you to pull inside. Hey, you got this next one. We're coming to you. We believe in you. Another one is like, what the hell? What are you doing? Come on. You're better than this. And it's knowing how to connect with people in that way. The second thing, I actually forgot about this until you're probing here. It's funny, before that season started, we had done conditioning, as we do conditioning in the fall for competition in the spring. And the fall conditioning is pretty awful. Running the stadium steps at Beaver Stadium, running Mount Nittany, and all kinds of other crazy things. And I remember after a gruesome training session, I said to the guys, I'm like, we're going to win the national title this year. And people kind of chuckled. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, we're doing it. This is the year we're doing it. In fact, we're all getting tattoos when we do it. By the way, I don't have a tattoo. That's something else about me. That then we go in, and I was the first person to say, yeah, I don't think I'm doing that tattoo thing. But we're getting the Nittany Lion. All the wrestlers had a Nittany Lion tattoo on their shoulder.
Sure.
Like, we're getting Nittany Lion tattoos on our shoulder if we win. I think in my career, one of the things that we can do more than what we, our individual selves, think is possible. Call that setting the bar higher than they think is possible, or creating a vision to a reality that they might not believe is possible. And it can be anything in business. But one of the things I think I do reasonably well is create belief, inspire people to the art of what's possible, and you get more out of people when you're capable of pulling on people's hearts and minds in that manner.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. There was a guest, 3 gentlemen who climbed the Mount Kilimanjaro several months ago, and they were a guest on the show.
Nice.
And there was one quote this one gentleman shared. He said, some people climb the mountain for the view, to see the world. Other people climb it to be seen by the world. And what you're sharing with me, and that's a good way of thinking about it. You are not, and Kevin did a lot of research in advance of this conversation. I couldn't find a whole lot of you holding up checks at schools, donating anything to anyone, but I saw your leaders doing that.
Yep.
That's remarkable to have this type of self-confidence that you don't need to get credit, but also being able to inspire people to work together, to think more, to think bigger, to dream bigger, to be able to aspire.
Yep.
Where, Kevin, do you think that came from? Was that from your mom, from your dad, from siblings? Any idea? Because it's special.
That's a good question. I've not ever been asked that question before. My dad was a finance professional and definitely one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. So I learned a lot of financial discipline, fiscal responsibility, and things of that nature from him, and hard work. He had to pay for his own high school. He grew up in Queens, New York, and had he gotten to the public high school, there's no chance he goes to college. So he actually worked jobs to pay for a parochial high school education that he paid for himself. And so I had hard work and fiscal responsibility from him, but caring for others, caring for people. Yeah, that's my mom for sure.
Okay.
My mom was a hospice nurse for 40 years. She actually passed away of Alzheimer's disease about 10 years ago, but thank you. She's, as a hospice nurse, like you want to talk about caring for others, putting yourself out there to help others in their greatest times of need. And to do that for decades, it's truly remarkable. And just the impact and influence that she had on other people through that. Any nurse has that in them, but to be a hospice nurse, it's like next level to be in that environment all day, every day. And I can remember in high school vividly, like patients that had passed, their family members coming to our house with gifts. And we lived in Lancaster, PA, which is an Amish country. These Amish families like coming to our house and baking is what they would do. They're baking food for my mom, and just so that impact that she had. So yeah, she's incredibly empathetic, always there for others, would do anything for anyone else. And I know servant leadership is an overused expression and term, but our job as leaders is to get the absolute most out of the team, which we already covered. The second thing is to help individuals achieve what they can most achieve. And so that's helping them solve problems, being there to help them when they need help, maximizing their strengths, we call it play to their superpower, and give them direct, candid, and honest feedback on how they need to improve. I wrote a piece on this a few years ago. I'm always shocked at how few people are willing to give direct, candid feedback. And then I'm always shocked at how people are unwilling to receive it. So maybe that's the athletic thing, Bart. So my mom for sure.
Yeah.
But, as a successful athlete like you were, you have to be willing to receive feedback from your coach if you're going to improve. And I welcomed it when I was an athlete. I welcomed it when I was younger in my business career. And I do it now in my leadership role is to give that back in spades. So if I see opportunities for improvement, I'm going to give it. I'm going to share those points of feedback with my team.
Yeah, Kevin, there was a gentleman also that I just recently talked to. His name is John Harper. He was one of the executive vice presidents that I had worked with at Ritz-Carlton and Marriott International back in my career before starting my own company. And the story that I like to share about him is that I never saw him make anyone cry as a leader.
Yep.
And that just became almost the theme. Leaders don't need to make people cry. I can share great news with you. Maybe you're going to cry because you're happy, but I can also share direct, perhaps sometimes sad, negative, indecisive, confusing situations that I don't need to make you cry. I can still be empathetic. Is that your approach for most of the
You want to be treated, and of course, like those are words, but honestly, care about the individual, treat them with caring and respect, show them that you are there for them, and we're going to be tough on topics. So what we say is be tough on the topic, not the person. Obviously, you need to not react poorly to bad news because that creates a whole different problem. But if there's a tangible, specific, real problem, we're going to be really tough on this topic. But as a person, you're going to feel supported. In fact, just yesterday, our CFO and I, we're a big company. We do business in 100 countries around the world. We have 7 different business units. One of our business units is struggling. It's one of our smallest, thankfully. It serves the Marriott. By the way, great company, great brand, wonderful people. And this little business that we have is struggling. And we had the president of that business present state of the state. Like, where are we? How did we get here? What are we doing about it? And we told that leader before he walked in the room, we're on the same team. This is not an intervention. This is not, we're here to critique you. We're on the same team. What we want to understand is how did we get here? What's going on? We need to be tough on these topics. And when we're done here, what are we going to collaborate on to get to a better outcome? And you can just see his stress level come down. We flew him to Houston from where his office is for this meeting. And I'm sure he worried about it all week long. And so you put people in a position to be more accepting of that feedback when it's from a place of, I care about you as a human. I want for you to be successful. This feedback I'm giving you is because I want you to be better. And when it's genuine, people understand and they react accordingly.
Yeah, tough on topics. And I always look for certain key phrases that come out, Kevin, that's going to be the indicator for what the title of this, it's going to be episode, I think, 183 for us, but it might be tough on topics. And what I love about this conversation, Kevin, is that, yes, I've mentioned that you're with Sysco. Yes, I shared your title, but I want people truly to get to know you. And yes, I'm going to say Sysco is the global leader in selling, marketing, and distributing food and non-food products to restaurants, healthcare, educational facilities, lodging establishments, and other customers around the world. Yes, I'm going to say that. But the greatest part is the conversations that we're having right now. It's meaningful, it matters, and you are helping to give other people ideas on, I can be a better leader, I can be empathetic, I can have soft skills, I can wish others good luck and success. I don't always need to be in the spotlight. I need to make sure that I recognize and empathize and appreciate people that are in the nursing care business, the hospice business. I learned great things. You learned great things from your father. You worked harder than everyone else. You didn't need to be holding the check for the photo op, and you don't make people cry. Holy cow, I think we're done.
That's a pretty good summary.
I mean, but that's it. And it's, Kevin, it should not be unique, but you are a unique, special gentleman, leader, human being. And I'm just wondering, how can we encourage, and maybe that's why the podcast is successful, and maybe that's why people are hiring me to go speak all over the world. But what else can we share with people to let them know you can be empathetic? You can be kind. You can be tough on topics. What do you think is holding people back from perhaps doing those three things and being a leader like you?
That's a tough question and a good question. I think when we worry about ourselves more than the outcome of the team, it tends to not create that environment. When someone is pigeonholed into a specific and singular function for too long, they tend to have a very myopic view of the world. And if you can't put yourself into someone else's shoes, it's really hard to actually see their perspective, to collaborate effectively, to be willing to put the team's outcomes and objectives in front of your own.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a part of it. And I guess if I bridge that to a piece of advice, I get asked the question a lot, like, how did you get to the job you're in? I'm interested in that type of career. What did you do? How did you get there? It certainly wasn't a ladder. It was more of a jungle gym. It was like left, right, up, down, over, up. And what I mean by that is I spent the first 10 years of my career in an operations, logistics type of environment and role. And an HR person tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, we want you to go in the corporate strategy team. I had never worked on a strategy project as a strategist in my career, but they saw something in me that I probably didn't see in myself. And there's no way I go into general management assignments if I hadn't first gone into that strategy job. And then coming out of that, you go into general management. Coming out of that, you change company, and each broadening of your horizon, you're learning skills that you didn't have before. But so I guess that's a piece of advice I would give is put yourself in uncomfortable positions. When someone asks you, hey, we want you to go run X division, and you've been in a different one your whole career, say yes. Don't hesitate. Say yes. Bet on yourself. Be willing.
Retail to pharmaceutical to food distribution. I mean, amazing. Absolutely. You might need to do this for 5 years. You might need to go for this for 7 years, but then look at where you can go if you are still, I guess, holding the values and holding the foundations. Because right now, just thinking about your leadership style, you could be chair of the board and CEO for any type of company. It wouldn't need to be a top 50 company. Your leadership skills are applicable for anywhere. And of course, we don't want you to go anywhere, but I just want it to be a lesson for other people that while you are learning to be a better leader by listening to stories like this with Kevin, with others, you can apply that to different industries. Do you think that's a fair statement for our listeners? That if they're good leaders and become better leaders, they could lead just about any type of group or industry?
Leadership is 1,000% transferable across businesses, across sectors, across industries, 1,000%, which is what I was trying to communicate earlier, which is bet on yourself. Be willing to take the risk of going into a new place that you're not comfortable in, that you're not the expert in. People always want to be the expert. Be willing to. And an example of that would be what you said. I went from a long retail career into a pharmacy business. And I'm not a pharmacist, and I helped lead the largest pharmacy business in the world. I had 27,000 pharmacists that reported directly up through my hierarchy. And one piece of advice I would have in doing that, though, is when you do that, when you make that transition, you have to deeply immerse yourself into the business of the business. Your leadership skills will translate innately. There's no doubt about it. But you have to deeply understand the business of your business to be credible and to be respected by the people that you lead. So I had the privilege when I first started at CVS, I was running half the stores. So it's 5,000 of their stores. And I was replacing someone who was retiring in approximately 4 to 5 months. So I had this unbelievable gift, and I'm 20 years into my career when this happens. They said, you get to go into the stores for the next 3 months. Like, you don't know who you are. Helping give patients counsel about their medications, helping see what type of questions our pharmacist deals with. Why is the phone ringing like 200 times a day? We got to solve that problem. And when I then got into the actual job, my first store visit when I was in the actual leadership position, the very first pharmacist I interacted with asked me what pharmacy school I graduated from. And they didn't ask me, are you a pharmacist? No, it was like, because I actually was talking the talk of what they did every day, using their vernacular, et cetera. So it's just an example. Best leader.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Please
last
keep
sentence,
going.
I'll be done in 20 seconds. The best
Yeah.
leaders are those that can be strategic when it matters and be at the 30,000 foot level, but then dive down to 300 feet when needed and then know when to come back up. I've worked with lots of really smart people who want to stay too high, and it's obvious to everybody when they're flying too high.
Yeah. They want to keep their hands out of the dirt, and maybe they don't even know what's happening at the ground level. There are some pictures, lovely pictures of you on the web with you running into individuals that are driving your food distribution trucks, and you just happen to run into them. You saw a truck, you went up and you introduced yourself and you just thanked them. That's the type of leadership that matters. In the other sense that I'm getting, just two quick things, Kevin, I'm getting this great sense of self-confidence. You talked before that I read somewhere about hiring people that are smarter than you, not wanting to get the credit. Helping individuals achieve their goals makes you feel good. Did you always have that type of self-confidence? Because it is rather unique. And when we go back to what could leaders work upon, I think self-awareness and then also self-confidence. Are they truly comfortable in giving someone else credit? But would you mind just sharing your thoughts on self-confidence?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And is self-confidence trainable, learnable, developable, or not? I don't know. That one's a really hard question. We could have a whole nother episode on that one. Yeah, I do think I've always had belief and confidence in myself, whether or not it was Little League baseball or I played goalie in soccer, and I loved it when it was just one person coming towards me and the defense was, where the heck are they? I didn't shrink in those moments. I wanted to be in those moments. I didn't tell you, Bart, and I don't have a big ego. I told you I wasn't the star of the 94 team, but I was the person who went back to jump serve when we were down 11-4 in game 4 and ripped off 7 consecutive jump serves to put the team back in a place where we could win. If you don't have self-confidence, and those that don't play volleyball, go back there and you got to rip it. And I've always been, I'm going to say it this way, I'm comfortable in those environments. Yeah, a global town hall meeting yesterday with 7,000 of our colleagues, 1,000 live in the room, and I was the keynote speaker for that event. And one of our meeting facilitators says, "You must get so nervous before giving these speeches." I'm like, nervous? Like, I get to talk about our business. I get to talk about our people. I'm like, no, it's like my favorite part of the day. This is great. Let's go. And I don't know, Bart, I think some people do get really nervous about those types of things. I view it as if you're confident in yourself, and here's the main point. And if you know your stuff, you're good. And we'll see the point earlier, but you got to be in the details of the business. If you know your stuff, if you're capable, therefore, of telling your story, people respond to that and they get motivated by that and they want to follow.
Yeah, and you also see, last question, Kevin, you had referenced that you were the first one into the weight room at 7 a.m. and you were probably working harder than everyone else. And me, as an example, I'm 6'2", I'm not as tall as you. I had a good jump, but I was the 12th best on a team of 13 when 12 could travel. There were a heck of a lot of people that were much more physically talented than I am, so I had to try harder. It seems that you would always put forth the extra effort and then also encourage people to put forth the extra effort. Did that translate to what you're doing now? Are you still pushing yourself? Are you still learning? And I guess I would assume the answer is going to be yes, but then the question is, how do you make sure that you're not pushing yourself too much, that you're enjoying what you're doing, that you still remain intellectually curious, that you still enjoy speaking in front of 1,000 people and 6,000 people virtually? Are you still having fun, even though it's a high pressure job and you're responsible for tons and tons of employees and billions of dollars?
Yeah, it's a great question.
There were 18 questions in there, by the way.
It's not very much when you're 6'8". In my freshman year, I redshirted. There were 2 seniors who played my position. So again, perfect opportunity for me to get better, to get stronger. And our coach and our assistant coach said, "Kevin, you need to get stronger." I'm like, okay, let's go. And I found that I couldn't lift after practice. I was just fatigued, and I'd go to the weight room after practice and I would get nothing sufficient from it. So then I'm in class from 8 until 3, and you got practice from 3 until 6, dinner, then study hall, then bed. So for me, the only time I could do it was 7, and I was committed to it. And I put on 30 pounds my freshman year of muscle, and it transformed my game. You can hit harder, you can block harder, you can go harder through practice. And it transformed who I was as a player. And you got to bring those things through to your life. So I call it, do you have a big motor or not? I wish in an interview you could ask someone, do you have a big motor? Because to work here, you got to have a big motor. You can't ask the direct question. You can get it through inference. And yeah, I've got a big motor. I work hard. I love what I do. I don't lose energy through working hard. I get energy from it. So my favorite part of my job is to be out in the field, spending time with our drivers, spending time with our sales colleagues, spending time with customers. Right before you and I were on the phone, I was on the phone with our top customer worldwide, and just engaging in the business for me is a lot of fun. I love it. I'm not fatigued. I'm not tired.
Yeah.
The motor is there. Here's the worry I have, Bart, and this is something I have to be very cognizant of. And I've been given this advice from others, and I have to be cognizant of it. My risk is not burning myself out. My risk is burning my team out. So we have to be very thoughtful, giving them space and time to decompress. It can't be a marathon sprint. There needs to be certain windows of the year where we pull back a little bit. Yesterday, I actually told my CFO, this guy works insanely hard. I'm like, he's got an 8-year-old daughter. At 5 o'clock, I went into his office. I'm like, Kenny, you're going home. He said, what do you mean I'm going home? I'm like, you're going home. I said, you've been here. It was earnings week for us. It's a busy week. And I'm like, for example, only we enable our team to work remotely on Fridays. And I actually prefer going into the office, but at least every other week I'll work from home to give the message to others that it's okay, that we actually want you to do it. And pressure testing over time. How's the team doing? Where's the level of stress? Where's the level of fatigue? Using sense of humor to help de-stress the most difficult environments. These are just things that I've learned to appreciate more. When younger version of myself, I was less cognizant of the impact I was having on the team dynamic. And now I'm very specific about trying to find those moments to bring the stress levels down and to give people some more space.
And who's reminding you to leave at 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. at night?
Yeah, I'm going to plead the fifth. On that one.
All right. If you need me to send you a note anytime, I will. And I'll just remind you, you're doing great, but go home.
Time to go home. Yeah,
last question. Again, we're talking to Kevin. He is the chair of the board and the CEO of Sysco. Sysco is a top 50 Fortune company. They're the global leader in selling, marketing, and distributing food and non-food products to restaurants and healthcare organizations really all around the world. Last question, I promise, Kevin, and thank you. Penn Stater, number 11, All-American, good guy, terrific leader. Fill in the blank, please. Most people don't blank.
Believe big enough, think big enough, dream big enough, because you can do more than you think you can.
Wow, you can. And you gave that example with your team hiking Mount Nittany. We can be in the championship. We can win the championship. So think big, dream big, and be big. Not everyone's going to be 6'8", but we can dream to be that tall.
Indeed.
All right, Kevin, you are an amazing gentleman. Thank you so much. The leader of Sysco, selling, marketing, distributing food and non-food products. We'll make sure we put links to the website, of course. I wanted individuals to get to know you first, which I believe we accomplished. We learned about what motivates you, what drives you, so many great leadership lessons. Thank you. And then naturally, the company that you are leading, the values, the purpose. I just want to read one last, the purpose of Sysco, because I think it is brilliant. Connecting the world to share food and care for one another. Wow. What does that mean to you, Kevin? One last plug, I guess. What does that mean?
Yeah, no, I love it. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. Yeah, our leadership team wrote it, just to be clear. We didn't hire a consultant. There wasn't a marketing agency. We literally chose each and every single one of the words in that purpose. And it didn't exist before 5 years ago, 5+ years ago, when our team came together. Here's what it means. We have the privilege of being in the food business. And what we mean by that is some of life's greatest moments happen at a table over food. Think about it. Anniversaries and birthdays and celebrations and even passing of a loved one. What do? You get together and you celebrate over food. So how we describe it is we are the company that helps enable those events. We're bringing the food to more restaurants than any company in the world. And we therefore help create connections of people. That's point one. Point two is a symbolic reference to, and there's a seated everybody for them at Sysco. We have a physical table that we show that has 2 empty chairs, and we say we're connecting the world by bringing people together over food. And the caring for one, the caring for one another is about 2 things: sustainability, making sure that the trucks that we ship are efficient, using electric fleet when available and proper, making sure that the food we purchase uses less water, less pesticides, because we got to care for our planet. We only have one. So that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, fantastic. And when I was doing the research and I saw that, I definitely wanted to bring that up because I thought it was unique and special, very heartfelt. And now knowing you as a leader, I know that is not simply the culture on paper, that's the culture in process. Every single day, you're leading that. You're enabling people to be face to face and shoulder to shoulder and break bread together, which there is nothing more great. And especially today during craziness that might be going on around the world, it's nice to be able to celebrate, collaborate, communicate, and break bread together. Thanks to Sysco in some parts. All right, amazing. Kevin, thank you so much. Penn State, proud to know you. Thank you for doing what you're doing as a leader. Thank you for doing what most people don't do, and for leading Sysco, truly helping connect the world to share food and care for one another. What a noble cause. Well done, sir. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Bart. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on your show.
Okay, and we will get you copies of this through Walker, who's phenomenal. I'm still recording, but obviously I will get this out. I hope you feel better, and thank you. It truly, there needs to be, and that's part of what we're trying to do, Kevin. We want people to know that there are good people like you in this world. There are good leaders like you in this world. There are so many people that I present to, they're just like, they'll come up to me afterwards and they're like, oh my gosh, I love everything you said. If my boss was 1/8 of the ideals that you just shared, I wouldn't look to go anywhere. But it's not that hard to do. We can do it. We need to be self-confident. We need to be empathetic. And we need to have that good heart like you have, that you learned from Mom Diane, God rest her soul, to be able to be that way. Brilliant conversation, Kevin. Thank you. I will remain connected, of course, but proud to know you. Seriously. Penn State proud, my friend.
Likewise, Bart. That was an awesome summary, and it's clear you're very good at what you do, because you can do a summary like that in a short period of time extemporaneously. So cheers to you as well.
No, thank you, Kevin. And feel better. Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. For those of you that might be new to the podcast, my name is Bart Berkey. I am the founder of Most People Don't. It's a company that is designed to help people get better, to help people to be inspired to do more, to achieve more based on taking action. During my 16 years with Ritz-Carlton and 30 years plus in hospitality, I gained a unique perspective on how the element of service can inspire intentional, above and beyond actions. Not only do we have a podcast, I travel around the globe with keynote messages in addition to sales and service training. If you are a group or organization that is in need of some motivation or an inspirational message, please reach out to us through our website, which is mostpeopledon't.com. Most importantly, thank you for doing what most people don't.